We're going to do some additional substitution examples. These ones are a bit more challenging. I actually grabbed these from the set of questions that the worksheet packet 4.2 suggests doing with elimination, which is definitely the easier way to do it. But I'm going to go ahead and do the substitution the hard way just to show you, to walk you through how you could deal with a harder one. So I'm going to look at this one. This is actually number 15 in your packet. 5r minus 3s equals 24, and 3r plus 5s equals 28. My first task is to identify which of these 4 variable terms I'm going to try to start isolating down to just the variable. So if I look at the 5r, I'm going to divide everything by 5 to get r by itself. And 24 divided by 5 is going to be annoying. 3r here, I'll be dividing by 3 at some point, and 28 divided by 3 will be more annoying. 5s, I will be dividing by 5. I'm going to end up with fractions in that situation. But if I go with this negative 3s here, at some point I'm going to divide by negative 3, and while I'll end up with a bit of a problem with the 5, I won't end up with such of a problem with the 24. So I'm going to go ahead and deal with this one because it's probably going to be the easiest one to work with. So let's copy this equation over here into what I'm treating as my workspace. Give myself a little more room to work. Control V. Okay, so I am going to isolate this variable. So I'm going to put parentheses around it to remind myself that that's my target. You can mark it in whatever way you want, but it's useful to remind yourself. My first step is to get rid of 5r because that's part of the addition subtraction part of the problem. So minus 5r will get rid of 5r. So minus 5r. Okay, so that 5r minus 5r is nothing. So I'm left with 3s equals negative 5r plus 24. Okay, now I want to get rid of the 3, which is multiplied by s. Since both sides are 3 times too big, I'm going to divide by 3. And here we go. This whole side is divided by 3, divided by 3. And I forgot something. I'm going to go back here and fix it. You may have noticed it. That's actually a negative 3. So I'm dividing by negative 3 on each one of these. Negative 3 and negative 3. Okay, let's see what that works out to. So I'm going to end up with just s, which is what I wanted, equals negative 5r over negative 3 is 5/3 r, and that's going to be 24 divided by negative 3, so that's minus 8. So here's what I've got. I've got 5/3 r minus 8 equals s, and so I'm going to go back and I'm going to replace the s in the other equation. So let me move this down here so I have a workspace for working for the other equation. Notice I'm giving myself plenty of space. So now I go here, I copy that, I replace s with that, because that's what s equals, and I get this. Okay, my first step is going to be to clean things up. I got to get rid of the parentheses, and to do that, I got to distribute 5 times 5/3 r and times minus 8. So 3r plus 25/3 r minus 5 times 8, which is going to be 40. So that's 5 times negative 8, which is negative 40. I can now drop the parentheses, and I've got 28 still on this side. Now I need to consolidate my terms. But before I do that, I'm going to get rid of the fraction. And so I'm going to multiply the whole thing, everything on both sides, by something that clears out that denominator. And the thing that would get rid of the denominator is times 3. I'm also going to make that times 3. Okay, so this becomes, when I distribute that 3 times everything, 3 times 3r becomes 9r. And then 3 times 25/3 r becomes 25r, and 3 times negative 40 is negative 120, and 28 times 3 is going to be 3 times 8, which is going to be 24, and 3 times 20, which is going to be 60. 24 plus 60 is 84. Now, I don't have fractions to deal with. Okay, I might have fractions in the end, but that's okay. 9r plus 25r is going to be 36r minus 120. I consolidated my like terms, and that equals 84. Now I want to get rid of the 120. I'm going to add 120 to both sides. Okay, now I've got 36r equals 84 plus 120. That's going to be 204. All right, now I've got to work out what 36, I got to divide 36 into 204. All right, so I'm going to divide both sides by 36 to get rid of times 36. Divide by 36. All right, that's going to take a little bit more work. I'm going to go over back. I'm going to go into the next page a little bit. So I need to divide 204 by 36. So 36 into 204. Working in a Word document doesn't lend itself very well to writing that division. Well, let's see. How many times does 40 go into 204? Because 40 is pretty close to 36. 40 goes into 200 5 times. So let's think about how many times, let's see if 5 times 36 works. So 5 times 36 is going to be 180. So if I subtract 180 from that, I'm going to have 24. Okay, so that's going to be equals 24. And so now I've got 2436. I've got 5. So my answer for this is 5 and 2436. That is clearly something I can simplify. 5 and 2436, there are 2 12s in here and 3 12s in here, so I factor a 12 out of both of them, and I get 5 and 2/3. Now, reminding myself that what I was trying to solve for was r. R is 5 and 2/3. Okay, now I know what r is, and I can go back and I can plug it into the other equation. Okay. I'm going to plug it into any one of these. Actually, I'm going to plug it into this because I've already simplified it for S. I'm trying to get what S is. So I'm going to copy that down, bring it down into my workspace. And there we go. So I'm going to replace R with 5 and 2/3. Okay. Now my next step going to be 5/3 times, I'm going to turn 5 and 2/3 into a top-heavy fraction. Remember, I told you that's the easier way to deal with things a lot of times. So I'm going to turn that into an improper fraction. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 2 is 17. So I get 17 over 3, and that's minus 8. And then that's going to equal 5/3 times 17/3. 5 times 17 is 85 over 3 minus 8. Okay, now let's turn 85/3 back into a mixed number. Okay, earlier on we discovered that 28 times 3 was 84. I happen to remember that because we just worked with it. So I'm going to get 28 and 1/3 minus 8 equals 20 and 1/3. So S equals 20 and 1/3, and R equals 5 and 2/3.